A full investigation is now underway into the discovery of suspected human remains in an abandoned building at the Garrison St. Michael. Police found the bones during a routine patrol of the area last night. Investigators were on the scene up to this afternoon. That's when the bones were removed from the unoccupied structure located next to the Letchworth office complex. According to police reports from initial examinations, the bones appear to have been there for a long period of time. Lawmen are now seeking to determine the circumstances surrounding the discovery and are trying to find out who the previous occupants of the house were. $20 million is the value of the exposure Barbados has received from its marketing arrangement with mega superstar Rihanna. News of this from the Tourism Minister Richard Seeley as Barbados prepares for the Barbadian songstress's second major concert on November 1st at Kensington Oval, part of her Diamonds World Tour. Shane Seeley has the story.
Shine bright like a diamond.
It's about 2 years since Rihanna hit the stage at Kensington Oval, entertaining a massive crowd of Barbadians and scores of tourists. It was part of a 3-year, multi-million-dollar deal, which the Bajan megastar signed in 2011 with the Barbados Tourism Authority to promote Barbados to the world. Government's decision received much criticism in some quarters, but in defending the move today, Acting Prime Minister and Tourism Minister Richard Seeley explained it was money well spent.
One of the main reasons that we did it, the 3-year arrangement between the Barbados Tourism Authority and Rihanna to market the destination, was precisely because of her strength in the social media world, having more followers on Facebook and Twitter than anybody else. And as a result of that relationship, Destination Barbados has gotten close to 1 billion impressions from that relationship in a short space of time. If you were to do a crude calculation of 2 cents per impression, that is $20 million in exposure.
The news came as he declared open a conference entitled Employee Engagement in the Digital Age, the Role of Communications, hosted by the International Association of Business Communicators at the Hilton Hotel. The minister there also gave details about another tourism initiative, namely the National Tourism Host Program.
Is tourism awareness on steroids, and I'll explain to you how. We are seeing the Barbadian public as host for our overall tourism product. So it's not simply getting Giggard and Boo or Tubby the Guard to tell you how important it is to be nice to our tourists. It is also about empowering people with information about tourism so that the quality of the visitor's experience can be improved.
Shane Seeley, CBC News.
A local research agency is spearheading a charge to increase the level of sugar production in Barbados. Officials of the Barbados Society for Technologists in Agriculture say they're undertaking a sugarcane research project which is supposed to increase the current sugar yield. It's part of an effort to rescue the industry, which has been on a steady decline over the past decade. Ron Brathwaite reports.
Agricultural consultant Keith Lowry says for decades sugar production from cane has been steadily declining. But he believes this could change through research being done by the Barbados Society for Technologists in Agriculture. According to him, the private sector-driven organization of which he has been a long-standing member has undertaken sugarcane trials that could turn around the industry. He says these have been ongoing at Bottles in St. George and Andrews factory on a select variety of canes.
I am confident that I can bring the yield of sugarcane back up to 30 tons to the acre, from 18 to 30 tons to the acre, if not more. I'm going to have plant cane here in 15 months. That's going to be 50 tons to the acre, if not more. This can be done, and I'm sure we have the technology to do it.
Mr. Lowry says they hope to increase yields way above the paltry 17,000 tons per acre reaped last year.
Our soil has gone down and down due to all kinds of things. Overcultivation, overuse of chemicals, only use of chemical fertilizers, no organic matter. Our organic matter in our soil is less than 1%. You know, that is soil that is nearly totally useless. No, we have to do so. I can't do that. That's what we're going to do in our trial.
Mr. Laurie acknowledges that the cane harvested has been decreasing as some agricultural lands are taken out of production. He, however, notes that reduced land acreage does not have to mean low sugar yields. Mr. Laurie says all that is needed is the right technology and approach.
We're going to push organic matter into it. We're going to re-inoculate the soil with bacteria and fungi. We're going to get that soil back up to where it was, 30, 40 years ago. And I am confident when we do that, that we're going to get the yield.
The agriculturalist lauds government's idea of a one-factory option, noting that only one is needed until the yields have increased. He says the success of this private sector research project offers Barbados a prime opportunity to maximize on the amount of sugar and byproducts generated for local consumption. Mr. Laurie says the BSTA will be calling together all sugarcane growers in the next 2 months with the view of making its research findings known. Ron Brathwaite, CBC News.
An official in the Ministry of Agriculture has dismissed talk about any outbreak or suspicion of avian influenza, commonly called bird flu, in Barbados. Senior Veterinary Officer Mark Trotman has refuted recent news reports which refer to H1N1 as bird flu. Mr. Trotman says it's an error and one which has caused problems for the veterinary department and the island. He explains that this is in respect to international trade issues and international opinion about the status of the health of animals and birds in Barbados. Mr. Trotman says one of the strongest animal surveillance programs on the island was that for avian influenza, and if there was ever a case of the disease found here in Barbados, it would have to be immediately reported to the World Organization for Animal Health. Scores of homes positively identified as mosquito breeding sites in the Hearts Gap, Christchurch area, sparking major concern for local health officials. Investigations into those areas were done as a result of the spike in the number of dengue fever cases recorded in several districts. Chief Environmental Health Officer Tyrone Applewhite gave details on inspection done in mosquito hotspots across the island.
On the 7th of September, we visited 586 premises. We're able to inspect 446. So it just shows that a number of houses are closed. 77 of those houses were positive for mosquito breeding, giving us an index of 17.3. And remember, I think PS would have mentioned that we want to hold the index, which is the positive premises, over the number of inspections. We want to hold that figure below 5.
At Sergeant's Village, 65 households were found to have breeding sites. At that time, inspectors visited 346 premises, inspecting 244, with an even higher index rate of 27.6. Well, Barbadians have been urged to support Eat Bajan Day on Friday, October the 11th, by preparing and eating only local foods on that day. The call from Professor Sean Carrington of the Graham Gooding Trust Fund at the launch of the Eat Bajan Day initiative at the offices of the Barbados Manufacturers Association at Harbour Road. Eat Bajan Day was started 4 years ago in tribute to late agriculturalist Graham Gooding by the trust that bears his name.
Essentially, the activity is to sensitize Barbadians as to what they eat, where it comes from, and maybe to think about changing that lifestyle a bit. Obviously, we always will have to import some food, but we're also, I think, all of us quite staggered by the fact that we have this phenomenal food import bill. I think about $700 million, or this is the number I keep hearing. And clearly this is something we need to address, especially in these hard economic times we're in.
Professor Carrington says the Eat Bajan Day initiative will help to cut a significant slice off the food import bill, which runs into the millions, and he's urging all Barbadians to use local products as much as they can.
Eat Bajan Day, we're really encouraging everyone to have a meal which is made of food which is grown in Barbados, or fish which are landed by our fishermen, or, I don't know, meats which are raised here by our farmers. So it's not so much about eating a Bajan dish in the sense of cuckoo and saltfish or whatever, but it's about eating food which is locally produced. And hopefully this will continue on during the rest of the year. It would not just be one day.
The Barbados Labour Party heard firsthand the challenges facing local farmers and the agro-processing industry as it continued its Rubbing Shoulders campaign. Yesterday, members of Parliament, including Leader of the Opposition, Mia Mottley, Cynthia Ford and Glenn Clark, toured Brighton Farm in St. George and Gales Agro-Products Limited. Managing Director of Gales Agro-Products Limited, Barry Gale, told the opposition MPs that his company is facing challenges with airlift capacity as it seeks to increase its exports. Gale's products are exported to Caribbean nations as far north as Anguilla, the British Virgin Islands and St. Martin. Mr. Gale also says the tightening of credit within the business community is not good for the local poultry industry.
It's not a very healthy situation because everybody doesn't have deep pockets to fund a large credit outgoing. So they get excluded from the marketplace if they don't have the money to offer the credit. So those are areas that, you know, I don't know what can be done, but certainly looking at it might turn up some kind of solutions.
Leader of the Opposition, Mia Mottley, who led the tour, says that the industry is struggling against what she termed are serious structural issues along with trade liberalisation. She says decisions will have to be made to remedy this.
We also have to be able to work out how best we're going to get this dealt with, because it means that less and less people are going to want to stay in the industry. In relation to the interregional transport, there is no doubt we cannot have a single market and economy unless we are prepared to solve the transportation issues. We can't ask people to export, but yet we don't have the facilities by which they can export their products. And it is a matter that's going to have to be dealt with by air and maritime transport reform.